It's tough being unemployed, particularly for a long period of time. Add a frustrating job search to the equation and damaging results usually occur. The Northwest Indiana Regional Workforce Board and the Center of Workforce Innovations knew this and developed a pilot program to address these issues. With us on today's show are two people who can talk about the long-term unemployment situation and its impact. We have with us Sharla Williams, who's a workshop team lead with the Center of Workforce Innovations, and Monica English, who is a training specialist with TradeWinds Services. Now, I got to ask both of you one question. Why don't they call you a team leader? Why is it just team lead?
You know, that's a really good question, and I've been wondering if I could recreate my title. But I do lead a team, so I think it is officially correct.
So team lead, although we could give you the extra ER, right?
Well, I'll tell them that when I get back.
You can buy a vowel.
There you go.
Is
like Vanna here?
I don't know. You could maybe take that role. So, and Monica, this is a new job for you, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so as we gave people the introduction, you're the person who kind of went for a while without a job.
Yes.
For how long were you unemployed?
Actually, almost 2 years.
2 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Sharla, you are the person who kind of put this program together, you and your team put this program together to help someone like Monica.
Yes, at Work One, we identified that there were individuals who were professionals that had been unemployed for a long period of time and had been unsuccessful on their own re-entering the workforce. So we have a program that's called NIPIN, the Northwest Indiana Professional Network. Actually, I met Monica there in NIPIN at the Gary Work One office. After about 6 months, even focusing on recreating your resume, developing an elevator speech that would highlight your skills, trying to build confidence and offer hope. Individuals still could not get a job after completing that program.
Well, let's go back. Where were you working before the unemployment period started
Actually, I worked for Vibra Hospital right before that, and I worked there for almost a year.
What was it, Vibra Hospital?
Vibra Hospital.
Where was that?
It's in Crown Point on 93rd Avenue, right off of 93rd Avenue on Georgia Street.
Okay.
And I was the director for the respiratory department there. Prior to that, I worked for Olive Harvey College in Chicago. I was professor there, chair for the Allied Health Department. And
so you've
also,
had some pretty high-level positions there.
Pretty decent. I worked for Methodist Hospital prior to that here in Maryville for probably about 25 years.
Okay.
And I became the supervisor manager for the respiratory department there.
Okay. So what happened to lead to the unemployment piece for you?
Actually, my job did some restructuring. We got a new CEO, and they decided to do some restructuring. And in the new restructuring process, they had their own people in mind.
So we may want to change that to restructuring has become a new 4-letter word, right? It seems like, because for restructuring seems to put a lot of people out of work.
Yes, that's true.
But businesses oftentimes say they have to do that to kind of make it work. So you found yourself, after really what sounds like maybe a 30-some-year career,
yes, sir,
all of a sudden unemployed for the first time in your life?
Yes, yes.
So is it maybe kind of silly to ask you, but how'd that feel? I guess at first it's different.
You know, initially I've worked all my life, and so for a minute I thought, God, I'm going to take a rest. But in a week, I was ready to get back to work. And so I started going to a lot of different locations, hospitals and different healthcare facilities, just talking to people, trying to get a feel for what was available, what was going on in the community. And really, there weren't any real open doors. They opened a new hospital in Portage, in Valpo there, and I went there. I talked to the young lady there, and I felt like, well, she talked to me, but it was like, we don't have anything for you, because she was in a position where she felt that I might be more qualified than she was for the position.
So you were overqualified.
Yes, sir.
Another dirty term, right?
It is. And that happened in a number of places with me.
Now Monica represents a number of people. You guys really work at the Work One with a lot of people who are like Monica.
We have many professionals that come in and who were good at their jobs. So suddenly they think, I know how to do one thing, I know how to do it well, but nobody is opening any door that I knock on. So we had to try to figure out how to get them back in front of employers and convince them to consider different options when they were looking at jobs.
So I know, first there's probably a misconception that people like Monica don't come to the Work One, that the only people come to the Work One are people who just really don't have hardly any skills and who can't really find jobs. Isn't that a perception, you think, out
You
there?
know, Keith, it really is, but I think a person like Monica and like myself, I was unemployed for 22 months at one point in my life. And recently, you think you know how to do it, so they don't come to us first. Because, of course, I'm on an email, I have a network.
That's right.
I have 30 years of experience, but suddenly the employer does not always want to match your pay. And now you have to say, but you need to value my experience. And it's difficult to arrive there on your own because you just feel like I deserve this, I've earned it, this is my worth, this is my value. And a lot of times that's the conversation I think we had.
Of course.
Monica had several interviews and was negotiating for a position.
Well, when did you kind of come to that realization, like, I need some help or I'm going to go to the Work One? How long did it take before you did that?
Probably a couple months.
Okay, so you went quicker than probably most people would.
Yes, because I basically felt like, I know what I do. I'm a professional at what I do, but everything's changed. I'm a little older now, and sometimes people look at you a little different when you're a little older. The gray hair, I mean, it's just a lot of things that are
That means
things
wisdom,
that,
though, right?
That's what I say. But some people value things different. And so for me, I felt like I'm going to Work One. I want to meet some people. I want to find out what they have to offer. So I live in Crown Point, so I started going to the Crown Point office. And then they closed. And then I went to the Gary office, and they welcomed me there. And from there, it was just, I was coming in every week, at least a couple times a week for the workshops, to get on the internet, to meet with people. They'd have sessions that, things to kind of help you get refocused.
So you really took advantage of this. I mean, I get the impression that you're a little atypical of...
She was unique. Most people don't know what Work One has to offer, and I'm glad we're here today. And I hope that people view this and share this information. Work One is where you want to go when you want to be employed, not only when you're unemployed.
Right.
Exactly.
Because more people, the people who are kind of the professionals who are in the same situation as Monica, they tend to probably wait more like, what, 6 months? 9
Usually
months,
about
a
6
year?
months. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So once we realized that we weren't able to serve them just with the Northwest Indiana Professional Network, we met with someone from IUN, Jana Stostek, and she talked to us and really approached us after meeting with the Legacy Foundation. How can we really address this long-term unemployed problem for professionals that exist in Northwest Indiana? And so the three of us, Work One, Indiana University Northwest, and the Legacy Foundation, we partnered to develop the Skills Building Institute.
Well, I'm going to go back to, tell me a little bit about how it felt, or kind of what the phases you kind of went through, because at first you said, hey, I can do this on my own, I'm going to jump in, but I can see the game's change a little bit.
Right.
At what point did it kind of hit you that, man, I got to get some help here? You
know what, probably at the end of 3 weeks, I decided that...
You're a quick learner, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I decided that, I've been out of the game for a long time. I'm just used to going to work and working hard and getting out of here. But at this point, I just felt like I've lost track. I mean, everything's updated. So there's a computer system. There are people who have all kind of advantages, and of course, youth. And every time I talk to somebody, they would tell me, when you're younger, you seem to do better. Maybe you ought to try some different things to appear a little bit younger. And I thought, well, no, I'm just
like
who
what?
I am. Oh, get a wig. I mean, I had people tell me, just get a wig. Your face is nice. Yeah, I had people tell me that, just try that, and you could probably you can get any job you want to. You got a master's degree. You've been in healthcare for a long time. You're quite accomplished. There should be no problem getting a job.
So when did it start really getting to you?
I'm going to be honest to tell you, when I got into the NIPM program, even before then, I'll say at 6 months, I was getting a little frustrated. But at that point, I still decided I can get a job on my own, but I'm still going there because I want some assistance in resume writing, because I haven't had to have a resume in so long. I needed some help, and maybe just how would I present myself. I mean, I know how to dress, I know how to talk, but I want to be able to get the job, because there are 50 people right there. I went to interviews actually that there were 10 people waiting for the same interview when I was there. And I thought, I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking, oh God, I don't know about this. But I didn't leave. There were people who got up and left. I didn't leave. And I had my interview, but even though I had my interview when I left, I thought, they're not going to call me. And it happened several times.
Well, let me ask you this, because I know we've had this conversation with the People Center for Workforce Innovations about after 6 months, 9 months, a year, 18 months, people, and I've interviewed some of these people, they walk through the door and they're like, my gosh, you have such a bad attitude about looking for a job.
There are several reasons. They become discouraged.
Oh, yes.
And there's this big hole in their resume now. There's a gap, and they don't often know how to explain it or articulate it. And if they would come to us, we can show them how to fill it, how to skill up. Some of the things that she mentioned, we were able to teach her how to not only speak about her skills, but how they related to the employer. How the job posting is really what you want to focus on, how my skills can satisfy what you're looking for. I have what you need. And that's something that you don't think about when you've been working 30 years. You're just good at one thing. You don't often even know how to share your transferable skills. You may not have the same type of job, but you could do the same thing in a different industry.
So the skill, the piece where you're trying to get people to present themselves better
Yes.
and so forth, I get that. But I think some people also carry some personal damage. I mean, some baggage. It's like, I'm mad about this. This is not fair. What are some of those other feelings?
I was just so frustrated, and actually I became depressed over, I'm just going to say, between my 6 month to a year. And I kept coming to work one, I kept talking to people, and I met Sharla, I met a few other people, and they talked to me about the nipping program. I was excited because here was an opportunity finally to get with some other people who had a degree, who felt that they had the same self-worth that I did. And we were running into resistance, but here we can get together and maybe figure out how we can get a job. So I decided, hey, I'm putting in resumes online, and then I'm going to these places to
How
say.
did that work out, putting them online?
Well, it takes a lot of time, and it's frustrating because you don't know if they're going to recognize yours or just put it in file 13
Did you
in the
get
garbage.
called much back?
Not that many. No, not really.
So it's a pretty frustrating process, too.
That's frustrating. But see, when you do it online and then you go and knock on the door and say, hi, I'm Monica English. I applied online, and, are there any opportunities available? This is the job I was looking for. And you still kind of get we're going to review your application. We're going to get back with you. That's it gets frustrating, at least for me.
How does it, you worked with, how many people were in this program, this pilot program?
We started with 25.
Okay. And so of the 25, Monica's one of those 25. What were some of the other manifested kind of emotions that people had? I mean, this frustration and really being down.
Some are bitter. Some are very angry. Some are feeling entitled that I will not work unless I can continue to make $45 an hour. So we had to work through, because they don't understand that employers are looking for soft skills. They're looking for you to come in prepared to work regardless of what's going on. So that's what the Skills Building Institute started with, an assessment process at IUN
to
get down to the nitty gritty and find out what's under those layers, what's the root of it, let's address it so that we can manage it and get you in a position that you're not grumpy or the grumpy expert or turning off the interviewer.
And I've seen that. Do you feel like at any point after that from that 6 month to that 12 month maybe, in that period you were kind of down, do you think when you talk to people that came across to them?
It probably did. And actually, I've had a couple instances where, I got teary because I'm sharing with somebody about my personal situation, and I'm used to being on top of the world, so to speak, and all of a sudden, nothing's working. I don't have a job. I'm going to work I'm going to different locations trying to find a job, and nobody's opening the door for me. Nobody's giving me an opportunity.
And the interview's probably looking at you going, this woman is on the brink of falling apart. So I don't think I want to offer her a job because, oh my gosh, what's going on?
You know where they end up? In desperation.
Yes.
And it comes out, you can see it. I'll do anything to get this job. And not knowing that then the employer feels like you're carrying emotional baggage.
That's even worse.
I'm not sure that you would fit in here.
Exactly.
And the assessment, when they sat down and took a look, they took the 16 PF.
That's right.
This is a questionnaire that looks at your feelings, your thoughts about work, your work ethic. And they were able to take a real good look at, this is where I am now. They have to have some self-evaluation as how did I get here and how do I move forward? And then we had classes. We developed different workshops to address each and every one of those things, rebuild their confidence, their skill level around conflict management, stress management.
Well, when you did some of that assessment, was there any kind of aha moments for you where you kind of went, gosh, I didn't know I was coming across like that, or I didn't know I felt that way?
Yeah, you know what? When I was doing the assessment initially, I think I felt like I did pretty good. But then when I got it back and I saw that, you know, maybe my sense of really looking into things and trying to fine-tune things, I wasn't doing that.
Your self-worth was a little down.
It was down. And so, you know what? I decided then, I said, you know what? Every class they offer, I'm not going to miss one.
So that,
And she didn't.
so that realization really helped you. What was your 22 months like of you being out of work?
It was very challenging because I thought I knew how to find a job too.
That's right.
And I'm a communicator. I can meet people. I have an excellent network, and it wasn't working.
And you
for
can
me.
sing.
And
That's
I
true.
can sing. Doesn't pay full-time bills though. But if anybody needs a singer, no, it's challenging because you're used to getting up, going to work. You're used to having part of your social network is your work. You see people. Suddenly, you don't have adults around. It changed my life. It became. I didn't have anything to do in the
How long
morning.
did it take before you felt like you kind of hit the wall where you went, oh my gosh, this really is terrible?
About 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
When you realize I feel helpless. I have a master's degree. I have a bachelor's degree. I even have an associate's degree. I have 25 years of work experience. I'm an upper level manager, and nobody wants me. Nobody wanted me.
In this program that you did with the 25 people, was everybody kind of professional level?
Yes.
Everyone had to have an associate's degree or higher, and most in our class had a bachelor's. And I think about 30% also had a master's.
Do you think, and I know this is probably a whole nother subject, but you work with all kinds of folks. Do you think people who are working more, you know, entry-level jobs or lower-level kinds of jobs and find themselves unemployed for this long period of time experience the same kind of things?
I think the emotions are the same. I think that at the lower levels, unfortunately, they don't have a lot of hope because if they were only making $7.50, $9 an hour, now they feel like, what can I do? What's left for me is what, public assistance? So I think they come in with a little less hope. They come in feeling discouraged because they were already in their mind working at an entry level and hadn't worked their way up yet.
But for people like you're kind of up here and all of a sudden you find yourself kind of knocked down.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be pretty devastating.
It is devastating. And actually, every time you get on the internet, every time you apply for a position, every time you look back and you're trying to find out, is anybody really checking my resume? Are there any calls? And you're not getting anything positive. It just deflates you. So that's, I think for me, more than anything, I think I felt devalued. I felt like, my self-worth is not what it used to be. I'm just at a point right now where, I wish I could figure out how to reinvent myself. And that's where, I'm just being honest, nipping it really brought me back to life just enough to make it into my right over the hump of 12 months because I thought I was going to die when I got to the 12-month point.
Put the defibrillators on you.
Definitely. I've been resuscitated.
That's a good way to express it because when we saw her coming back to life, she did come into work one. We do have some solutions and strategies to even help you get your resume recognized over the internet.
That's true.
And if you don't come in, you can't find out. But we know that about 20% of positions are filled via sending out a resume online, and the other 80% of open positions are filled via networking.
And particularly for a more professional.
For professionals.
So through this whole process, we're down to the last couple minutes. I mean, what did you kind of gain from this whole thing in terms of what did you learn?
I learned that if we can equip people with the skills that they need to understand who they are, where they've been, what they need to let go of, and how to move forward, that they can then be a more informed job seeker and be ready to present themselves and all their skills in a positive light to employers who are looking to fill positions. Most importantly, though, knowing what they're looking for and knowing what you have that can match that open position.
You've talked a lot about what you learned about you. What did you kind of see in some of the other people? What did you see that you learned about them?
I think first of all, I really realized we all felt hopeless. Everybody in the program, even though we had a lot to offer and we had great jobs before and made a lot of money, we all felt hopeless. And all of a sudden, we get into a program where people really see us for who we really are. They've been dusting us off the whole time we've been in the program and cleaning us up and helping us to let go a lot of that baggage, because that's what was holding me back. By the time I graduated on May 1st, I stepped out of there and I said, you know, any job I go for, it's mine. So the first interview I had after that was in Chicago at a hospital, and they didn't actually have a position for me, but in talking to the individual, she told me, don't worry, we'll make a position for you.
That's good. That had to felt great.
It really did. It felt so good. And actually, I waited a couple weeks, and she got back to me and said, you know, administration won't go along with that because of our budget. She said, but you have great skills. You're a great woman. We're going to keep you in mind. And I want you to know, keep looking, because you're going to find something great.
Well, I know that attitude is a huge thing for people, and so I can tell, Monica, you have a great attitude, and I always love your attitude,
Oh,
Sharla.
thank you for having me. And mostly everyone who completed the program, except for one person, has full-time employment now. And the other person is working in their internship.
That is
very
awesome.
excited.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Very
Thank you both for
exciting.
being
Thank
here
you so
today.
much for having me.
Really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Keith.
I work with and coach a lot of people who are going through job transitions, whether looking for employment, changing careers, searching for the proper path, or switching employers. I've also spent quite a bit of time interviewing people for jobs. Two things continue to amaze me. One is how little preparation is done by job seekers, and the other is the lack of awareness interviewees have of themselves. The first problem can be fixed by the person who is looking for a job. Prepare yourself. Just about every employer has a website. Take a look at it and learn about the organization, their purpose and products, and the people who work there. Do a Google, Facebook, or LinkedIn search on the staff. Go by the place and scout it prior to your interview. Don't be a stalker, but you might be surprised by what you can learn with a few minutes of observation. Most job hunters will take the time to think through a few answers to commonly asked questions. Maybe they will practice some of their responses, look in the mirror at their nonverbal cues, or take time to select the perfect outfit to wear. But did they read the job posting closely? Did any of them think about how the position fit into the company's vision? Were there any thoughts about how they, the job seekers, could help the business become more successful? Those contemplations are real preparation. The second issue about self-awareness. I'm going to place some of this responsibility on the interviewer. How can employment candidates learn about self if no one gives feedback? Employers are often cautioned to give job seekers only a message of, "We've hired someone else." Without any information to use for personal assessment, how can those failed job seekers learn where they fell short, what they did wrong, or why they were not the right match? After I complete an interview, I often have a conversation with the person about where he stands in the process and give my evaluation of the person's performance. I sometimes ask how the interviewer felt she did. My feedback is positive and constructive. I want the person to learn what is needed to improve and be a better fit. It does the world little good for a person to leave a job interview feeling dejected, unsuccessful, and worthless. So here is my challenge. Take a little time with a future interview to help that person. Share some specific examples of what went right and wrong in the interview. Your feedback may help immensely, and the next prospective employer may witness a more prepared and self-aware candidate ready for a job offer. Thanks for watching Lakeshore Focus. We want to hear your thoughts about our show. Did we help you have a better understanding of today's issue? Send your comments to our email address on the screen or reach us through our website, which is also listed. You may want to visit the website and watch past episodes of Lakeshore Focus. There are some great shows to enlighten, entertain, and educate. Join us next week for another Lakeshore Focus. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.